The final showing. The key felt cold and unnaturally heavy in my hand, a tarnished brass skeleton from another era. It was the kind of key that looked like it should open a pirate's chest, not the front door of a listed property. The email from the Henderson family had been brief, clinical, and utterly bizarre. "We are private people, undergoing a stressful relocation. The code for the lockbox is 7319. Let yourself in. We will be on the premises, but do not wish to be disturbed. Please conduct your viewing and leave the key on the kitchen counter. Do not deviate from this." As a real estate agent for 15 years, I dealt with all kinds of eccentric sellers. The couple who insisted on being present to vet potential neighbors, the hoarder who'd tried to sell his collection of vintage lawn gnomes as a fixture and fitting, the woman who'd demanded I smudge the rooms with sage before a viewing. This, while odd, wasn't entirely outside the realm. The commission on this sprawling, isolated Victorian manor, Blackwater House, was substantial enough to overlook a little social awkwardness. It was the kind of sale that could clear my mortgage, a lifeline. The journey was an odyssey in itself. 2 hours from the city, the tarmac giving way to gravel, then to a dirt track that wound like a sickly vein through a dense, suffocating copse of pine trees. The GPS had given up a mile back, its cheerful blue line dissolving into the void of no signal available. The trees pressed in, their branches scraping against my car like bony fingers. The house, when it finally revealed itself, was a gothic silhouette against a bruised, premature twilight sky. It was exactly as the grainy, black and white listing photos had shown, a 3-story testament to decay, with a widow's walk that looked less for viewing the landscape and more for contemplating a jump. I parked my car, the crunch of gravel, the only sound in the profound silence, and found the lockbox bolted to the rotting porch railing. 7319. The click was unnaturally loud. The key was inside, cold and heavy. The clunk of the heavy front door unlocking echoed through what felt like an empty, cavernous hall. "Hello? Mr. Henderson? Mrs. Henderson? It's Alex Croft from the agency." I called out, my voice swallowed by the high, cobwebbed ceilings and the thick, cloying scent of old wood and dried lavender. Silence. A deep, listening silence. I stepped inside, and the door swung shut behind me with a soft, final thud. I jumped, my heart hammering. "Get a grip, Alex," I told myself. "It's just an old house." Contrary to the exterior's neglect, the interior was unnervingly spotless. The air was stale, yet the antique furniture was polished to a high sheen, and not a single speck of dust settled on the mantelpiece or the grand piano in the corner. Vases held arrangements of fresh flowers that seemed impossibly vibrant. It was a house in stasis, meticulously preserved, a museum of a life that was being left behind. My professional script took over, a comforting mantra. As you can see, the entryway features original oak paneling and a stunning, if slightly impractical, crystal chandelier, I murmured to my imaginary clients, moving through a grand archway into the main living room. And that's when I saw them. A man and a woman, sitting rigidly on a deep green velvet Chesterfield sofa, positioned as if for a portrait. They didn't turn as I entered. They were perfectly, unnaturally still, dressed in clothes that seemed a few decades out of date, a crisp brown tweed suit for him, a high-necked floral print dress for her. Their hands were folded neatly in their laps. "Mr. and Mrs. Henderson?" I said, my voice tighter than I intended. "I'm Alex Croft. I apologize for the intrusion. I'll be as quick and quiet as possible." The man, Mr. Henderson, gave a slow, deliberate nod without making eye contact, his gaze fixed on a point somewhere on the far wall. His wife continued to stare straight ahead at the cold, empty fireplace, her expression a blank slate. A chill, separate from the room's temperature, traced a path down my spine. "They just want you to do your job and leave," I told myself firmly. Stressful relocation. They're probably medicated. I moved through the dining room, my fingers trailing over a long mahogany table that could seat 20. The place settings were laid out with fine china and silver, as if for a ghostly banquet. In the kitchen, everything was obsessively neat. The cast-iron stove was cold, but the scent of recently baked bread hung in the air. I made notes on my tablet, my fingers fumbling on the screen. Kitchen. Period features, good condition, strange atmosphere. I deleted the last part. The silence was oppressive. Every creak of the floorboards under my own feet made me flinch. I felt their presence, a pressure in the air, even when I was rooms away. I kept catching glimpses of them in my peripheral vision, always in the same still poses. But when I'd glance back, their heads would be tilted at a slightly different angle, or a hand would have shifted. It was like watching a slideshow, with a slow, sinister transition. Upstairs, the hallway was long and dark, a tunnel of faded floral wallpaper, lined with closed doors. The air was colder here. I opened the first one, a child's room, frozen in time. A boy, no more than 10, with neatly combed hair, was sitting on a Persian rug, assembling an intricate model airship. The pieces were old, yellowed celluloid. He didn't look up at me, his small hands moving with a precise, mechanical efficiency. "Hey there," I said softly, the words feeling foolish. "I'm just taking a look around." His hands stilled for a moment, the tiny glue brush hovering over a wing. Then, without a word or a glance, he continued his work, his movements as measured and unnatural as his parents'. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs now. This wasn't social anxiety. This was a performance, a pantomime of domesticity played out for an audience of one. I backed out of the room, the door clicking shut with a sound like a tooth snapping. I moved to the next door, my professional composure cracking. This was a master bedroom, dominated by a large 4-poster bed. And there they were again, Mr. and Mrs. Henderson, standing side by side, looking out the window at the deepening gloom of the pine forest. But I had just left them downstairs on the sofa. My breath hitched. I spun around, half expecting to see the couple from the sofa standing behind me in the hall. Nothing. Just the oppressive, dark silence. The house seemed to pulse around me, the silence becoming a low, humming frequency, a vibration I felt in my teeth. I rushed to the end of the hall, to the last door, my need to complete the viewing and escape overriding my terror. It was a bathroom, tiled in classic black and white. And in the clawfoot bathtub, fully clothed in a lace-trimmed nightgown, lay an old woman, her skin pale and waxy, her eyes closed, her hands were crossed over her chest. She was so still she could have been. I stumbled back, a cry caught in my throat, banging my elbow hard against the doorframe. The pain was sharp, real. This was wrong. This was all terribly, horrifyingly wrong. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. The screen glowed to life. No service, of course. The icon was a mocking, empty slate. I had to get out. The commission, my mortgage, none of it mattered. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my only thought to reach the front door, my car, the world. But as I burst back into the living room, I skidded to a halt, my shoes slipping on the polished floorboards. The Chesterfield sofa was empty. The indentations on the velvet cushions were already slowly inflating, as if they had been vacant for hours. A soft, rhythmic sound came from the kitchen. Against every screaming instinct in my body, a morbid, terrifying curiosity pulled me towards it. Mrs. Henderson was standing at the large porcelain sink, her back to me. She was methodically cutting the stems of fresh, vibrant red roses with a pair of large, silver shears, the same roses I had seen in the overgrown, thorn-choked garden out back, a garden that had looked utterly abandoned for years. The discarded thorns and leaves lay on the counter like insect carcasses. "Mrs. Henderson?" I whispered, my voice cracking. The snipping stopped. She didn't turn, but her head tilted slightly, a bird-like motion. I could see the pale, taut skin of her neck. "You have to understand," she said, her voice a dry rustle, like leaves skittering across pavement. It was devoid of any emotion, any warmth. "We can't leave. We tried. The house won't let us. It needs occupants. It gets lonely." My blood ran cold, crystallizing in my veins. I backed away slowly, then turned and ran for the front door. I yanked on the heavy oak, but it didn't budge. It was locked, bolted from the outside. The key I had used was still in the lock on the inside. I twisted it. It turned freely, but the latch didn't click. I rattled the handle, threw my shoulder against the solid wood. It was like trying to move a mountain. "Don't waste your energy," a voice said. I whirled around. Mr. Henderson was at the foot of the stairs, watching me with an expression of profound, weary sadness. He wasn't threatening. He was resigned, a prisoner comforting a new inmate. "The gentleman from your agency who came before you," he said, his gaze drifting past me, towards the kitchen and the garden beyond. A faint, almost imperceptible shudder went through him. He argued. He fought the nature of things. The garden accepted his passion. "It's quieter now. You see, the house doesn't want owners. It wants residents. It provides the set, and we are the players. It is always casting for new roles. The sooner you understand your part, the less it rearranges you." My mind reeled, piecing together the horrifying puzzle. The pristine interior, the decaying exterior. The family, frozen in their roles, their dated clothes. The email that hadn't come from any real estate portal, but a generic, untraceable address. They weren't selling the house. They had never been selling the house. They were trapped here, and I was the latest potential resident. They were auditioning a replacement. From the kitchen, the snipping sound started again. And then a new sound joined it, freezing me where I stood. The soft, shuffling tread of footsteps on the porch behind the locked door. Slow, deliberate. Then, a faint, rhythmic tapping on the front door's window pane, as if someone outside was politely, patiently waiting to be let in.